Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Justin Young. He is Josh Tech. Welcome to the Fast Break right here on hoopscene.com and Hoopscene, Twitter, X, YouTube, all the places you find our content. We appreciate you joining us here on Monday. A good Monday morning it is. Obviously, it's not a Braves podcast, even though we're both rocking the A's today. Got to get that playoff win. Obviously, being a Georgia-based company, we're going to support the Bravos. Got to beat those Phils, Josh. We can't go down. We can't lose 3-0, get shut out with our ace. Can't do that. We can't do that. So hopefully this mojo brings a little good something over there to Truist Park later this afternoon. I'm sure it will. I'm sure the universe is like, JP and JY got the Braves hats on. I'm sure they're going to
We need something. Getting shut out for the third time this year during the playoffs to the Phillies really sucks. So
it's a rough go. It is a rough go. So hopefully Max Fried can pull it off. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about the Georgia Fall Preview Camp, our annual fall tradition. We've been doing this for a long time, actually, a really long time. It's been pretty fun to see this camp evolve over the years. And as per usual, we always have some guys that show up that we didn't know much about, that we get a chance to see firsthand and experience what they're going to be all about. And, of course, this is also an opportunity for players to kind of set the tone for what the season's going to look like for them coming up here right around the corner as we get really close to practice tipping off in the state of Georgia. I think we had some other players from other states as well here at the camp. So
a little bit.
It's not just a Georgia camp, but nevertheless, it was over at Swanee Sports Academy, the legendary Swanee Sports Academy. And we're going to go through it today. We're going to talk about the top performers. We're going to talk about top surprises. And we're going to talk about some players that if you're a high school coach, if you're a college coach, you want to kind of put on your short list of guys to watch, which every year we always have guys that land there that really kind of level up once we get into the scholastic season. So, Josh, you ready to get into it?
Absolutely.
All right, let's hit a first-run home run, first at bat like Ronald Acuna Jr. You ready to roll?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, let's talk about the top overall players. I know that there was a pretty good group of guys at the top. I feel like when you pulled our staff, you and Mackay, and then, of course, all of our coaches, you probably had a lot of guys. But was there a definitive handful of guys that were like top guy for sure?
Yeah, there's probably I would say 10 or so whose names kept circulating throughout the day. Mm-hmm. And then at the end of the day, it was kind of like, yeah, these guys are these guys were top overall guys. I think the guy that probably generated the most buzz throughout the day was Caleb Thomas, Pebblebrook point guard. He was awesome, man. Like, Caleb plays with so much confidence. He's so electric. He's so quick. He really started the day off really impressively by dishing the ball to his teammates, like all kinds of assists right off the bat. Like, I think his first scrimmage game, he opened with 2 assists. And then after that, he was able to do whatever he wanted when it comes to scoring. Like, there was a point in time where I was sitting there with our good friend Jesse Bird, and Caleb looked over and said, "I'm gonna hit a pull-up jumper." Then he hit a pull-up jumper right off the rip. He was calling his shots at the end of camp, and it was just really fun to watch.
I love it. It's amazing too, like the pipeline of point guards that we see over there at Pebblebrook High School. Like, it is really becoming PGU. Or PGHS, I guess what you should call it over there for Coach George Washington. I mean, the litany of guys that have come out of that program is really, really impressive to think what Coach Washington's been able to do. I mean, for as long as I can remember, Pebblebrook was not a school that you thought about as a basketball player. And now that he's been there and he's done it with great point guards, it's good to see that the pipeline still churns with great players, with Caleb Thomas being the guy this year.
At Pebblebrook, that they're going to pride themselves on just staying up on you and pressuring you defensively. And Caleb did that throughout the day. Like, he was not just putting on a show offensively. He was making life pretty miserable for other guards. Like, he was not giving anybody any space and really made a lot of impactful plays on defense as well.
I mean, guard somebody, right? Like, if people always say, how do I get noticed at camp? Go out there and guard somebody from end to end, from start to finish, and you'll get noticed without a doubt. You absolutely will. You always do. So let's keep it moving down the line. I'm looking at your list, and then a lot of kids – with the first name C, so hopefully I don't double up on some of these names that we're talking about. But let's go to Seckinger High School and talk about Carter Watkins. What did he do that impressed you and the staff?
He did a lot of stuff. Honestly, he was a guy that really impressed me with Hoop Atlanta in the spring. I remember watching them at a Georgia Cup one time, and I was like, man, this guy looks really good. And then I would go back and check in on him throughout the rest of the spring and summer, and he just continued to impress. He's a multi-level scorer, pretty big size for a guard, 6'4" or so. Can score, like I said, can score from all levels. Also can create for others, made some really good passes. And that's pretty much what he showed throughout the day on Sunday. It was just another data point for what I'd seen from throughout the spring. He's still, he's proving on a different platform that he's that player that I saw, on that other platform. So it's just another notch on his resume that was really impressive. And he was a guy that throughout the day, everybody kept being like, yeah, this kid's really good. Yeah, this kid's really good. Yeah, this kid's really good. I think he's a guy to look out for during the high school season. He could have a really big spring or a really big winter with Seckinger.
I like it. I love a big guard. Big point guard is one of my
Yeah,
favorite
he was really, really good.
Yeah, I love it. I'm going to go down the line a little bit and talk about staying in the C first names here. We've got guys kind of coming all over from the state of Georgia. Let's talk about Caleb Jones down at Benedictine, down in Savannah area. And if you come all the way in from Savannah, you're probably coming with some purpose. Yeah. What did he do that really made him kind of make this list for you?
This is another guy that I got to see. I saw him at Bob Gibbons with the Atlanta Celtics 16U team on that really, really talented 16U Atlanta Celtics team. He was just one of those guards that just showed out that whole weekend. And then at the camp on Sunday, he did a little bit of everything. His mid-range game was just fantastic. He's automatic from there. He can get hot from three, and he can finish above the rim and make athletic plays. Like, he's a guard that down there in the South or, in the Savannah area that's going to put up a ton of points this spring or this winter, pardon me. And he's just a name to keep looking out for. The Celtics do a really great job at finding talented players outside of the Atlanta metro area. I think they always have.
You mentioned one little thing about his game that I feel like we've talked about a lot on our show, and that's the mid-range game. And I think about like all the guys that made our All HSA team that were guards. Like, we always talk about their mid-range game being so effective. And we always talk about like analytics and how it's just like corner threes and layups. But man, I feel like the really good players know how to keep that skill set, burning strong within the skill set fire. And I feel like that mid-range game has really kind of separated a lot of guys in the era of 3 points and layups. So good to see that Caleb Jones is bringing that to the table. Let's talk about a couple of big guys here from the camp that we liked. And this is my sweet spot. I've always been a big guy. I want to hear more from you about Jackson McVey from Gilmer High School. What can you tell me about him?
Man, he's the guy you walk into the gym and you're like, damn, he actually is 7 foot tall. You know what I'm saying? Like, you walk in, you're like, damn, he's huge. Like, he's actually like legit big. And I've seen him before. And what I saw out of him in the past was more of just like an upside kind of guy. He's still trying to figure it all out. Now it looks like he's getting to the point where it's starting to all come together. Like, good hands, good feet, really impactful around the basket on both ends, defensively blocking shots, offensively just dominating around the basket. But his game away from the basket is something that's really impressive. Okay. He has a really nice touch on his jumper. And when you see him take 3-point shots, you don't ever think like, ooh, that's a bad shot. It looks good. Like, his mid-range game, once again, his mid-range game is like pretty much automatic. Like, I seldom saw him miss a shot from that area. And then that extends out to the 3-point line. And I think that's where his game's going to keep getting better and better. He looks like a guy that's really about to take the next step forward in his recruitment and all of the above.
It's interesting in Georgia, particularly Metro Atlanta. I don't know if you can call Gilmer County Metro Atlanta, but as the city gets bigger and bigger and bigger, we're seeing talent kind of reach further and further away from the city, all the way out to like places like Gilmer County. And here we've got a 7-footer and a guy like Jackson McVey. I was thinking about Georgia. Like, I'm a sucker for 7-footers. I mean, I was thinking about this before the pod. Jonathan Mandeldove, shout out Big Dove, who's now coaching, played at Connecticut, was over at Shiloh. I think about Darrell Moore more recently when we got started at Hoop Scene. That was down at Luella, that went on to Wake Forest. And I think about more recently, right? Like, you got even, a guy like Walker Kessler, and you've got, what's that?
Jabari's not 7 foot, but he's,
sure.
He's 6'10", close
enough.
Yeah,
I mean, I think about even guys like Josh Hill. I know he's not 7 foot, but like, we always have a lot of guys that you could put in the category of a late bloomer, 7-footer. And I feel like, just reading your report already and already kind of watched some film from him from over the course of the last couple, 18 months, Jackson McVey certainly looks like a guy that if you're a college coach that you're going to probably want to come by and see in practices in the early part of the season.
Absolute no-brainer. Like, I think like mid to high, like even highs should come take a look and at least kick the tires on them and kind of, just get a good feel, but no-brainer. Like, mid-majors should be flocking to Gilmer County to go.
Well, same with our next guy. We saw him a lot at the Best of South with Team Scoot. They're really fun 16 under team. Cedric Taylor from Creekside Christian. Sounds like he made another strong impression on our staff.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same thing with Jackson McVey. Like, if you're mid-major, no-brainer. Go look at him. And even if you're like, a high major, at least take looks at him during the spring, because he was really impressive again. He was just so dominant around the basket. Like, the only person that I think could even give him a challenge would have been Jackson McVey. But he was just out rebounding everybody, looking to dunk everything. Like his mindset was really aggressive. It was kind of like a kill mindset. He went up 2 hands, dunked everything. He had some that were just like the ones that kind of shut the gym down a little bit. Like he was just really impressive. That's all I could say about that. Oh, and defensively, he soared up for some blocked shots. Like I remember he had one that felt like, the little square on the backboard. It felt like he went above that to block a shot. And I was sitting with Jesse again, and Jesse looked at me and he was like, "Oh my God!" Like he was so impressed with Cedric, and I was too. I think everybody was at points throughout the day. He made plays that had everybody just like looking at each other, like, "What the hell?"
I thought our 16 and under division of the Best of South was really good, and Cedric Taylor was one of those guys with Team Scoot. So if you want to go back, watch some film to have some context, certainly as a player. Is he Danish born? Is that right?
Swedish, I believe.
Swedish, yeah. Forgive me.
Yeah, I think he plays for the national team.
Yeah. So certainly a guy that's got some international experience, and also I've seen him, some nice touch outside as well. So a lot of skill there, a lot of intrigue there for sure with Cedric Taylor. Josh, give me a couple other guys that stood out to you that were some of your top overall performers.
Yeah, I think two more point guards that really stood out were David Culbreath-Martin and Jaylen Richardson. Both guys, guys we've seen in the past plenty of times. Both had really good days. And then keeping up with kind of like, I guess this emerged as the theme throughout the day, was point guards. Jaden Cole, another guy that we've seen, he came back from a visit from North Florida and then showed up at the camp, and he had a solid day as well. So we had a lot of really good high-level guards at the camp.
That was, I feel like, the theme as well in Alabama last week as well, talking to Garrett Tucker for our recap for that the guards really seem like they're really, really strong. I felt like the 25 class, I think we're starting to see its depth now kind of come forward in this in the South as really being a really strong group of guys.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of – we know that the top is like crazy talented, but I think it's deep with Division I level players. You know what I'm saying? Like – they might not be like a bunch of guys that are going to completely blow you away, but it's guys who can play at the Division I level.
Were there any surprises over the weekend? I'm sure there were. There always is.
Yeah. There was a ton of surprises. I think one of the guys that really surprised me that I knew nothing about beforehand was a guard named Ari Meyer. I believe he goes to Chambly. Had no idea, hadn't seen him before to my knowledge. Really stood out with his effort. Like, honestly, I know that sounds like coach speak or corny, like motivational, inspirational kind of stuff, which I typically like gag at, but he really stood out because of his effort. Like he was just playing his ass off, honestly, if I'm going to be just as frank as I can be. He wasn't the biggest guy, he wasn't the most athletic guy, but he stuck up with people on defense. He really battled hard on for rebounds. He has a high IQ, knows how to play the game, made the right play more often than not. Just really impressive guy that I think any coach would really love to have on their team.
I love it. Any other guys? I'm sure there was probably 2 or 3 more guys that really were stood out.
Yeah, there's probably a bunch of guys, but another guy that I really liked was Tony Wells. He's a strong-bodied kind of perimeter player. Shot the ball really well from deep. Doesn't look like if you're like looking at him, he doesn't look like a guy that has a ton of skill from the perimeter. He looks more like a kind of a strong bruiser kind of guy, but he's really skilled from the perimeter, and he can also play inside, handles contact really well because he has that big kind of frame. And then another guy, I believe he's from East Georgia, maybe like Evans. I think he goes to Lakeside. Evans, Bryce, Reynierson. He had a really good day. He was another guy that I knew nothing about, but coaches after the drills and all of that, they were really raving about his effort and stuff like that. And then when I got to see him during games, he was really skilled, 6'5" guard. Put the ball on the floor, made plays off the bounce, also shot the ball pretty well. Just a guy to kind of look out for in East Georgia.
Yeah, we know
guy too.
The Augusta area is really, really, to me, one of the biggest sleeper areas in the whole Southeast for really high-level players and really, really fun teams. Yeah. We do this a lot. We kind of look at this camp as a jump-off point for a lot of players that maybe don't have a lot of experience in varsity, or they didn't get a lot of burn on the travel circuit, or whatever the case may be. I feel like this camp sometimes is the starting point for a lot of players that really kind of jumpstart what we hope is a great high school season right around the corner. Give me a couple of guys that may fall into that category that if you're a college coach or if you're a high school coach that you need to pay really close attention to this year, maybe because of what we saw from him from this weekend.
Yeah, I think a guy that you guys start with is Whitfield Hyde. He's going to be a sophomore, or he is a sophomore now, 2026. I don't know, wing forward, pretty big guard. I would say like legit 6'6", probably has skill. Really competitive player. Doesn't shy away from the moment. He matched up with Cedric Taylor a lot, and I mean Cedric did get the best of him a couple times, but Whitfield didn't shy away from the moment. He wanted to keep going back at it. Skilled player, you can make plays off the bounce, all of that. Just a guy to look out for in the sophomore class in Georgia. Another guy to look out for, a non-Atlanta metro area guy, South Georgia guy, middle South Georgia, Zakariyya Dwight at Crisp County. He's a guy that I got to see with Team Georgia Magic at Bob Gibbons, maybe. And he's really good, really impacts the game across the board. Really aggressive mindset at camp. Look to dunk everything. Look to contest every shot. 6'5". I don't know, guy that you can put anywhere. Like you can put him anywhere, and he would succeed. He can shoot the ball. He's athletic. He just does a lot of stuff really well. And I think if you're looking for a sleeper or a non-Atlanta Metro guy, Zakariyya Dwight's at 2025 that you need to kind of keep your eyes on. And then one more guy, another 2026. He goes to Mays. I believe he played travel ball with the Georgia Canes this summer and spring. Davenport Cox, bigger guard, maybe 6'3" or so, long arms, hit shots from mid-range after the three-point line. Looks like a guy that can keep developing into a player that we talk more about in the future.
I love it. This is why I think we have to keep giving respect to this type of camp, right? Like we've got guys from all over the place that we know will be players we know that we want to get more eyes on throughout the course of the season, whether it's holiday tournaments, whether it's the region tournaments or whatever the case may be. Like this is a great opportunity for us to get some eyes on and kind of build a starting point, if you will, for our evaluations of these players moving forward. So listen, got a lot of recaps coming up this week on hoopscene.com. We already have our top overall performers on hoopscene.com. We also have every team by team coming up this course of this week from you and McVey, and certainly appreciate the work that you guys do for that. Every player that comes to camp gets a chance to be on our website, which is pretty unique. And of course, coming up this weekend, we've got the Hoopscene W camp on Saturday. We've got Hoopscene Elite preview for the class of 26 and 27 camps or classes coming up on Sunday as well. Both of those will be at Swanee Sports Academy. So a lot of stuff to kind of keep our eyes on. Josh, we've got, let me think here, 6.5 more hours to the first pitch over there at Truist Park. So hopefully we've got some. Is that right? No, less than that.
Yeah, probably less than that at this point. It's what? Wow. What is it here? It's early. No, you're probably right. What? It starts at what, 7?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I'm out here on the West Coast, so the times are always.
I don't know. I'm still riding high off of a certain football team that I love and appreciate beating Notre Dame on Saturday. I have no concept of sports time right now.
Well, I'm riding high off of this recap of our camp, so I appreciate the thought and the insight on all of it, and we'll be back again next week after recapping those camps too. Josh, appreciate all the work that you do.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you.